Designer nodes will change the stitcher settings while stitching. They are special commands that can force a pause while stitching, change the stitching speed, or change the stitch size. There are several ways you can do this. You can either highlight your pattern and then double left click and cycle through the handles until you get to your nodes, or you can just hit F7 on your keyboard and that will get you directly to them. Only the pink nodes can be designer nodes. So if you hover your mouse over one of them, you'll notice that it changes into a little plus sign. If you right click on it, then it brings up a dialog box where it contains a text box. This is where the commands are typed, and it's very important that they're in capital letters. There are 3 different ones you can use: pause, speed, and SPI, which is stitches per inch. Let's say we want to pause our stitcher right there. So we type in pause. Now we can also add a message as to why we want to pause to remind us. Say, change thread color now. And then press enter. Notice that the pink node changes to a red dot. So then when we stitch this pattern out, when it gets to that red dot, that dialog box will pop up and will remind us to change our thread color. Well, let's say we want to change our speed. You can only have one dialog box at a time. So we'll have to switch this now and say speed. Now, whatever number I put after that is going to be a percentage. So if I say 50, that means it's going to be 50% of the original pattern speed. If I put it to 100, then it's going to revert back to its original speed. Or let's say I put 120, and that's going to increase the speed by 20%. Okay, so let's say I want to put the stitches per inch. And then the same thing happens. If I do 50, then that's going to mean 50% of the original stitch length, or 100 is going to be back to the original stitch length. And if I go to 120, that means it's going to increase the stitch length by 20%. Now notice I have a little divide up here. If I highlight, if I come back, press my F7, if I highlight anywhere on this dialog box, notice that the blue line highlights divide. Now I can also just hit the D on my keyboard, and you will notice that now my pattern has been divided. But caution, dividing a pattern that has designer nodes embedded, that will remove those nodes, so be careful. Make sure that the designer nodes are inserted last.